Hirschfeld was born in 1903 in St. Louis. When he was 12, his family moved to New York, and by 18, he was working in the silent film industry. When he was in his 20s, he took a trip to Bali, and there he found what he was looking for artistically. He saw everything bleached out by the South Pacific sun, devoid of color. And so from that point on, line itself, simple, clean, flowing, became the primary tool in his artistic toolbox. Now, you're probably asking yourselves, what does this have to do with Aladdin? Here's some drawings that show how Al Hirschfeld's work influenced ours. The first drawing we have here is of Joseph Marr. One thing that this drawing demonstrates is the organic line work. One shape leads organically into another shape. And you can see this in the genie with his microphone. You can see the line working all the way down his arm, his elbow, into his back, and down around the smoke trail.
When you pare a character's design down, it makes it easier to read every pose and every drawing. That's what works best in animation.
Now, here we have arms and hands. You know, if you look at the way that Bob and Ray's hands are formed, you could see that reflected very much in the genie's hands. The next category is silhouettes. Hirschfeld would like to fill in large areas of black. Abu is a character who's dark on a light background in this sequence. So it's pretty much like having a silhouette. Here we have a drawing of Mikhail Baryshnikov, and what I like about this drawing is that it really defines the essence of this personality. If you look at the drawing, it's obvious that he is a classical dancer. We try to get that into a lot of the iterations the genie turns into. So, for example, when he turns into Groucho...
No substitutions, exchanges, or refund.
It's the body movement and the pose that gave you the essence of Groucho's personality. Likewise, when he turns into Rodney Dangerfield, the guy is a person who sounds like a shrug.
I can't believe it. I'm losing to a rug.
So the pose indicates that essence of his personality. A few years later, Disney decided to update Fantasia with Fantasia 2000. My wife Susan and I decided that we wanted to do Rhapsody in Blue set in 1930s New York, and our inspiration was Al Hirschfeld. So we had the distinct pleasure of working directly with him on the film, both as our inspiration and as our artistic consultant.
Oh, these are good. Hmm?
You might even put
a little bit of 5 o'clock shadow on it.
Yeah.
That's nice. One of the great things about working on these films is that sometimes you get to meet your heroes. I feel very fortunate to have met and known Al Hirschfeld, to have learned from him, and to have visited him in his home studio where he created so many unforgettable images. Images that would one day inspire the entire Aladdin crew to create a curvy, streamlined world of fantasy, romance, and humor. How's that for a wish come true?
Jasmine was my third leading lady that I had the privilege to do for our films. Before that, I got to do Belle for Beauty and the Beast, and before that, Ariel for The Little Mermaid. But the struggle that I had was trying to find something new and fresh. I had a lot of other pictures of models and exotic-looking women up, just trying to understand what it is that, you know, makes for that particular look. And I got thinking about how old Jasmine is and everything else, and I realized, wait a minute, I had a picture in my wallet. So I reached in and pulled that out and said, yeah, my younger sister, you know, definitely has a lot of the qualities and things that I was looking for to put into Jasmine's physical makeup.
I wondered why he would use such an old picture of mine, and I didn't think anything of it. And then a couple months later I was talking with him and he said, my boss really likes the character I made out of your picture, and it's a go.
I remember a lot of the guys around the studio even were kind of like going, gee, is your sister married? I'd kind of like to meet your sister.
So then about 9 months later, a year later, I went to the studios in Florida for a visit, and people just kept coming by and saying, hey, Jasmine, or how are you today, Jasmine?
What was fun is the following Halloween, my sister's a seamstress. She could sew very well.
I like to sew my kids' Halloween costumes. And it just happened to be that the year the movie came out, so I thought, well, I'll make my son an Aladdin outfit. I'll make my daughter a Jasmine outfit, and I'll make myself one too.
We received this little package from her in the mail, and I opened it up, and here's this wonderful picture of her. It was really neat because it was Jasmine in the flesh. It really is.
My kids are now teenagers, so when the movie came out, they were, I believe, 3 and 5. And they would go to their preschool and their school and say, my mommy's Princess Jasmine. And none of their friends believed them. And if they would come over to our house, they would ask, are you really Princess Jasmine? And I would laugh and say, yes, my picture was used for that. And they think it's pretty neat.
Al, you're not gonna find another girl like her in a million years. Believe me, I know. I've looked.
I must find this one, this diamond in the rough.
So I have a bunch of samples here that show how we went about developing Jafar and his look, because you go through different stages and you try all kinds of different styles.
Tell me more about myself.
Here's a couple of Jafars, just different facial configurations. This one here is a really weird one, very extreme. This one would look too funny because you see a character like this and you would laugh right away. You wouldn't take him seriously, so you wouldn't have that fearsome quality.
Perhaps I can divine a solution to this thorny problem.
This one here just has a plain strange hat. It looks like a pumpkin, so I didn't want to do that. But there was sort of a monkey quality in this here that I liked, in his teeth and in his mouth.
I think it's time to say goodbye to Prince Abubu.
This one here had an overall good costume. I like these wide shoulders, but it seems a little complicated in the way it's put together. So when I saw this, I thought I have to combine some of the ones that I was seeing earlier. And then I started just to do some doodles, just sort of get a face, you know. I think I was listening to Jonathan's voice at that time.
My life is but to serve you, my lord.
And these were some of the first doodles I did of Jafar. And then I cleaned those up a little bit and came up with a face like this, and you keep refining.
That's better.
Then it got to really breaking the character down into main shapes. So I always do something like this, because you need to explain yourself to the other animators as well. Meaning, what are you drawing? How tall? How high? What graphic shapes are you incorporating here? So I said, well, this is our basic shape, you know, this sort of T shape. And you just go from here. And it also allows you to be very, very simple and graphic with it, which we wanted for the style of the film. And that was basically it, actually.
Ecstatic.
Aladdin!
Aladdin was probably drawn twice. Once by the animators and once by the cleanup department.
Duplicated!
When we receive the animated scene, it will be a stack of rough drawings from the animator. Sometimes the rough drawings are fairly clean, sometimes they are very, very rough. And so we will take those drawings and we will put a new piece of paper down over it and redraw the animation in the style of the movie and apply it to the entire stack of drawings.
That's a good move.
The design style of the film was created because of the flowing Arabic style and the Arabic script, and even if you look at their architecture, they are very curvaceous. And as we were redrawing every single scene, we had to make sure that the curves and the thick and thin flowing lines were in every single drawing.
We're not through yet!
When we would clean up a drawing in traditional animation, it would be one beautiful flowing line. In Aladdin, because of the thick and thin, we have to do a second pass on every single line so that it starts off thin, thickens in the middle, and ends up thin again.
Ooh, I like it.
Aladdin was very challenging. It was also very painful.
The difficulty wasn't in drawing because they were all very talented artists. It really was more a case of changing habits.
We had to learn a whole new way to draw.
They had to rise the occasion. You know, what can I say?
In the style of Aladdin, the thick and thin lines communicated weight. It also communicated light. You could use the thick part of the thick and thin line to communicate a shadowed area underneath a piece of fabric. So once we got used to the style, then we could do it practically with our eyes closed. It just flowed out of us at the very end.
And I think Aladdin achieved a production value that hadn't been seen in Disney features for quite some time, just because of that thick and thin line.
We were so glad that we actually took the extra time and the extra effort to make sure that every single drawing was a beautiful work of art.
Oh, you sure showed me.
I'm Jonathan Freeman, and I am the voice of Jafar in Aladdin.
That would be me.
When I first went into the studio in LA to start recording, putting down voice tracks for the film, they had a parrot, you know, to talk to that I could look at.
So, how did it go?
I had to admit to them that I was actually terrified of birds.
I just don't believe it!
Like parrots and things like that. They just scare me.
We got a big problem here, a big...
So I thought, 12 years later, I would come to this exotic bird store and see if I could get over my phobia of big birds.
Me?
Hopefully Gilbert is not in here in a cage, because that would really scare them out of me. Hi, Lisa. I'm Jonathan.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Welcome
meet
to
you.
33rd and Bird.
Thank you. I thought maybe just for fun I would come and meet some birds. I'm thinking about getting a bird.
Okay.
A parrot.
Oh, there's a big surprise!
No need to fear.
Okay. No need to fear. What's this one?
This is a kookaburra. It's the laughing bird of Australia.
Oh my God.
And that's the kookaburra.
Wait a minute. You speak his language.
Yeah, he thinks I'm his mom.
I don't want one of those. What's this one?
That's a minor bird.
Yeah.
And they're originally from China and Indonesia.
Hello.
Hello, Oreo.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay.
Here in the tanks we have the babies.
Oh.
So these are babies.
Oh. It looks a little bit like Iago. Look at his face.
Not.
Would you like to try an African gray? It's a Congo African gray. They're the smartest of all birds. Step up right against his chest.
Hello. Hello. Oh, 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 ow.
And here is one of the bigger and more colorful birds. His name is Danny. He's 7 years old.
Oh, boy.
Here we'll use your arms.
Okay. Hello.
Those are a little tight.
Hi, Danny. Yeah, you got a face only Jafar could love.
Oh, how frightfully upsetting.
Does this remind you of anything? Patience, Iago, patience. Oh, Lisa, thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks.
And
Thanks
come
for
back
having
soon.
me. I will come
You'll
back
always
soon,
be
actually.
welcome to 33rd and Bird.
Oh, I thought it was a
Those
bird.
are the toys.
Well, I'm glad I came, and it was a very interesting afternoon, but I don't think I'm going to be buying any parrots again anytime soon.
Just forget it!
But that's what animated films are good for.
I think it's time to say goodbye.
See ya!
As is often the case with Disney animation, we bring in live actors and shoot live action reference material for our animators to work with. What you'll see here is the live-action version of the song One Jump Ahead. Now you'll notice, you know, they're kind of ragged costumes and the actors look kind of silly, but it actually is very, very helpful for us just to get a feel for movement and the way the characters might be choreographed in the scene.